We're back
We're back!
with drunk book reviews. Once more, cheers. If you're not 21, please don't drink.
Please don't drink.
Are you fake drinking your cold coffee?
Yes.
You don't like cold coffee?
I like it, but...
It's different when it's cold than when it's iced.
Clear difference, kids. Well, she's also the...
It's no good.
No good.
I think it's all cheap.
God, I got the burpees.
Burpees! So we're gonna talk about the book called Dark Visions by
Dark Visions. By...
L.J. Smith.
This is an older book. This was back in the 90s.
But it was republished when the whole Twilight phase was going crazy. I like L.J. Smith a lot, or I did at the time when I purchased these books. I haven't really read her books since. A lot of her books that are popular, including Vampire Diaries and this one, were originally written in the 90s. So we can't really say that this follows the Twilight formula because it existed before Twilight existed.
Yeah. And the way this series is that it's a trilogy, but the trilogy is all in one book.
Yeah, when they republished it, they just did one book.
Did all in one book. So that's why it looks big, but it's 3 stories in one. So
yeah, you're like, whoa, this is so intimidating. But then the font's giant, and the lettering is hardcore, so you don't really have to worry about it too much.
Does this one not have quotes at the beginning?
It'll be at the very beginning. Oh.
No, I don't know if these do.
Do they not?
That's the
no
end.
way. These books
don't have quotes.
These books don't have a quote.
They don't have quotes.
That's a first for drunk reviews. These don't have quotes.
I don't know what to do with myself.
So the synopsis is that the main character, Caitlin,
she finds out that she has powers, and it happens really quick. Like in the first chapter, she's in school. Some girl comes to the principal and is like, "We'd like you to come be part of this research study type thing."
The first chapter is established that in the past she's had the ability to tell the future by drawing. She draws, and then she draws up a scene that will happen that she'll see.
Yeah.
First chapter, she draws a girl with a spider web in front of her eyes, and she's like, "What the hell is that?" And she finds out later it's a car crash.
Yeah.
And the spider web was the windshield. Just like to reverse about this author, something I'd like to say that she does do exceptionally well is that these books were written in the 90s, but they were written in such a way that you can't tell.
I'm gonna disagree a little bit because there was a few times that I was kind of like, yeah, reading this. I mean, I can't really go into detail because I can't remember.
Yeah.
But there were a few times that I was kind of like, yeah, this is not like 2000. This is early 90s.
There's no cell phones. There's no internet. There's no, convenient stuff like that would have really like saved the day in a lot of these situations. But it's still pretty timeless. Like the story works very well still.
Reading it was a really good payoff where it's like, if she promises to go to the institute so they can study her powers, also help her control her powers, then she can get a scholarship to whatever college she wants to go to. And at the institute, she meets some other kids who also have powers.
They live in the same house.
They all live in the same house. You have Anna, who can like communicate with animals. You have Lewis, who is like technology whiz type thing. You have good-looking Rob, who is like a healer. And then you have Gabriel, who
is angsty and has telepathy. The one thing about this book that becomes abundantly clear when you get to this point is that it's a little racial stereotypy. The Asian kid is the smart technology one. The nature girl is Native American. And you're like...
Because that's what I liked at first, because I was like, oh, this, like, it's a diverse cast. And then you're kind of like, but it's also a little racist. Slightly.
Rob is like broken, kind of, because his power showed up after he had some sort of accident and it bumped his brain, and because of that he has his power, but he also is asexual. Yeah, which they frame as a bad thing, but I think like that's something that like I didn't care about when I was younger, but now I'm like that's not a big deal.
Necessarily horrible.
Yeah, like he's asexual, so what? Like, but they're like, oh, you can't. so he's oblivious to her feelings, and of course the main character
Yeah, of
likes
course
him.
Nora's like...
Not Nora, Caitlin.
Caitlin. Sorry.
And then Caitlin and Anna share a room, and Lewis and Rob share a room, and Gabriel took the big one because he's like, fuck all y'all, and I'm like, I can respect it.
Although there are a few times that he tries to get Caitlin in the room. He's like, wanna come hang out? And Caitlin's like, no.
Yes.
Well, no at first, but then she's like,
maybe. Basically, like, weird stuff keeps happening. Like, there's a lady who runs the thing. Her name is Joyce, and she seems really passionate about, like, what's going on. She has an assistant named Marisol, and the person who's funding the thing, his name is Dr. Z.
Zets.
Basically, it's kind of just established they have a third eye in the middle of their forehead. You know, it's just kind of like a thing in many, many things.
Like, you know, supernatural type thing.
Yeah.
It's like you have an all-seeing eye.
That keeps happening is like they'll put something on their forehead while they're doing like tests.
A crystal type.
Yeah.
Or a thing that connects to the crystal.
It amplifies their powers, but also gives them like bad headaches and makes them feel sick afterwards.
So the first book, long story short, it's like them at the institute, and then they realize that like something's off. Marisol tries to warn Caitlin, and Caitlin just kind of shoves it aside, and then all of a sudden Marisol like gets into a coma, and then that's when like everyone kind of gets all freaked out, like what is happening? And there's like this whole thing, like there's a basement, and like they're not allowed into the basement, but they know now that they're like suspicious, they're like we need to get in there.
So they all work together to do that, and in the process of doing this, they go down into the basement, and there's a like evil crystal, and this like weird like fused person of like former students. It's like gross and creepy and like kind of awesome. Basically what happens is they go down there and like, oh my god, and like as part of like a survival thing, Gabriel connects them all telepathically.
Yeah.
And then they escape. But the thing is they're stuck like that. Like they can all hear each other's thoughts.
So they somehow form a plan to go up to Canada because there's like this they learn that there's like this other
like
group.
A vision or something.
Caitlin has like a dream of like this beach, and they were just kind of going off of that. So you know, the second book is like them going on a big road trip.
Rob finally is like, oh, I get like romance now because asexuality is bad. And him and Caitlin get together.
Yeah,
and
they get together. The problem is, on this road trip, you find out that Gabriel, because they were in contact with the crystal, like Gabriel got in contact with the big crystal that was back in the basement.
Yeah, they like taped him to her or something like that.
Yeah, they did something and torture him. It like really amplified his powers. So now he's like this weird like vampire type thing where he needs energy to like survive. And so every now and then he'll like go off and like try to get like, you know, like a normal girl, like victim or whatever. And Caitlin keeps like encountering him do that to the point where she's just kind of like, if you need to feed off of me.
Yeah.
Which then forms a sexual tension with them. And
they're like,
it's like a, you know, a triangle between her, Rob, and Gabriel.
But like not, because like Gabe knows that Caitlin's into Rob, and Caitlin's into Rob, but she's also into Gabe. But like Rob's like kind of oblivious. He's not really like
yeah.
He like doesn't really get it, which like I can appreciate, but he's like, it's not until later where he's like, wait, do you have feelings? On the way, they find Dr. Z's daughter, and she's like, I hate him. He never gave me enough cars and love.
And stuff.
And then they go to this place in Canada.
Yeah, so she's like helping them.
But they end up finding...
Caitlin's still suspicious of her, though. She confesses to them later that she was a spy for her father, but then she's also like, again, like, he was mean to me, so I want to be a part of your group.
They go to this place in Canada, and they find what they were looking for, which happens to be like this big house of psychics. And they have this beautiful crystal. Crystals are like a thing in this.
Yeah.
But their crystal's beautiful and wonderful.
But they're not the crystal gems.
And like these ancient people that have survived for this long. Oh, hey, welcome! Except for you, Gabe. You have to stay away because you're fucked up.
Also Z's daughter, because she is in no way paranormal or anything.
But like, people are gonna treat him like shit. And write him off really easily. And so they do that to him when he's at this place, and he's like, what am I even doing here? Yeah. This sucks.
Also, one of the reasons they go to like these like all-seeing people is because they want to break the connection, because like everyone's getting annoyed that they can hear each other's thoughts, and they're also kind of like, well, it's like this weird connection with the five of you, and you can't really break it unless one of you dies, and they're kind of like,
well,
cool.
And they're like, we can't fix Gabe. Sucks to be you. You have to destroy the crystal that originally broke him to fix it.
And it kind of ends with the pure people being attacked by the evil things. The crystal breaks, and one of them like helps lead the others out because they're kind of like, you need to go back and help our society or whatever. And then it turns out that Gabe and Z's daughter go back to Dr. Z and his other crew of evil teenage psychics.
Yeah. It's later revealed that like Gabe does it because one, he's like, I don't want to be a burden on you guys, but also because he's like, if I can destroy this crystal myself, then you guys don't have to worry about me, and then maybe you can break a connection, and I don't want to like fuck you with you guys. So he's very like, he's selfless in that way, but at the same time he's like, he doesn't like think with what's going on.
So the third book is kind of them trying to form a plan, and then Caitlin is like, you know what, I'm just gonna go against the grain, and she goes alone back to the house. Tries to do everything herself, but then she gets caught.
And because of that, they put her in like a sensory deprivation tank. It's supposed to amplify their psychic powers. It's a real thing that exists in real life, and what it does is float in a bath of Epsom salt, and they turn off all the lights, and because you're floating, you don't feel anything like sensory around you, and then you don't hear anything, and so your brain thinks of things to see because it's trying to compensate for the fact that you're not having anything come in there. So it can like send you on like kind of a trip. He does this to her in this sensory deprivation tank. It's like a cylinder tank. It's completely filled with water, and she just has like a mask over her.
And she has like earplugs,
and she just like floats there, and she's like kind of going insane, but Gabe can sense it, and he's like her tether to the real world, and he talks to her the whole time to keep her sane.
The whole night, because she's in there for like maybe even like 24 hours, because they keep her in there for a while,
and he's like, he like stays awake, he doesn't fall asleep, he stays awake to like keep her sane.
They're trying to break her so that then she tells them where the other kids are,
which she does not want to do. So she has, because she was trying to prove herself, because she was trying to be like,
I want to be a part of you guys,
and they were like,
evil plan, and then they see through her and
they put her in the tank. And they all, they come rescue her. They end up destroying the crystal, the evil crystal. It fixes Gabe, but it doesn't delete their telepathy.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, well, we're stuck like this forever. Okay.
But they were like okay with it, because they're like so close and friends. And she's like, yeah, Rob, I like you a lot, but like, and Gabe's like, all right.
That was the weird thing I had with it, was at the ending. At the very end, like, Caitlin's like, by the way, Rob, I'm not really into you, I'm into Gabe. And then Gabe's kind of like, oh yeah. And then Rob's just kind of like, that's okay, I'm into Anna. And then Anna's like, oh yeah. So it's just kind of like a weird thing where it's like, well, yay, I'm glad it worked out, but at the same time, I'm also kind of like, that was resolved easily.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not so as cut and dry. Like, Rob's kind of like, oh, okay. But like, he's like, oh, so because you're happy. And she's like, scoots him towards Anna, and Anna's like, hey. And he's like, oh, okay. Most of these books, when they happen, it's like, the first guy that I meet is the guy. And like, that's it.
And then that's it.
But this book, I liked that it wasn't the first guy, it was the second guy. Or the third, because I think she met Lewis before Gabe. It ended up working out, and I really liked it for that reason, because I liked Gabe, because I thought he was very interesting as a character. But I just like the angsty guys. So the prose of this book's, the characters really developed. It was straight to the point.
Like, within the first chapter, it was like, you're special, want to come hang out with us? Okay.
And they're like, alright. And like, within like the third chapter, we're already like established and rolling. I really liked the world they established and the powers. I thought it was pretty cool. It was a little like weeaboo fantasy fanfiction-y, but like,
but it was still pretty good.
The good thing about it is that the relationships weren't incredibly toxic like many of these books do.
Yeah.
Even though the Gabe was super angsty and kind of like aloof, he wasn't a giant dick. Like, he wasn't like abusive.
He wasn't abusive, and Caitlin gave consent.
Yeah.
She was like, if you need help, I'm here for you. And then she kind of just sacrificed herself, like her energy, like, just take it. Like, take me right now.
He had the reasons for what he was doing. He actually, as it progresses, he's very selfless. The reason why he does things isn't because he's selfish or like a dick, it's because he's trying to protect people from him. He's very insecure. She was never like, I can fix him. She was more like, I accept you for who you are. The cons were that it's a little inconsistent with the characterization. Gabe kind of switches wildly from like being like insecure and like I don't know to like being really cocky and like oh I'm so cold and like angsty and like I get it, but at the same time it's like it does come off as him just being kind of inconsistent and like picking and choosing when he wants to be these ways. Rob is also inconsistent. There was no real reason for him to be suddenly like into people again.
He's a very dry character too.
Yeah, he's really boring.
Kind of just like he's hot and he's very caring.
And that's like his characteristic. And he's like noble. And a big issue that we had with it was that it does this like road trip and it kind of ends up being like this wild goose chase of where like the yakety sax is playing and they're like because they go all the way up to Canada and it takes forever for them to get up there. Like it's like the span of an entire book is them going up there.
The whole second book is them getting to this place in Canada.
And they turn around and come back and it like takes no time.
That's true.
It has the feeling of like it progressing and it goes somewhere, but then it like goes back and you're like kind of like what was the point of all that? Like because they go somewhere and they meet people, but like it just kind of goes in a loop, and that could be a positive for some people, but for us, at least both of us kind of felt like it was just kind of like circling back on itself, and you're just kind of like, all right. I really like the main character. I liked that she was an artist. She was kind of stressy, but like she'd like to go and find like peace with like drawing, but like even when she was drawing, it would like fuck up for her because it would like be a vision, and she's like, God damn it.
It was very fast paced, and for me sometimes, I mean, since they all had powers and they all, you know, had backstories, and they kind of went into some of the backstories, but not like really far. I would have liked to known a little bit more about like the other kids.
Yeah.
Where they came from, because you hear about a lot about like how Gabe and like his past, and a little bit about Rob and his past. To be honest, you don't really hear a lot about Kaylin's past.
That's true. Or Anna or Lewis.
Or Anna or Lewis.
It's kind of all about Rob and Gabe.
That's
which,
true.
you know, they should have gotten together in the end.
Oh. What if Gabe had just pulled like, oh, by the way, I'm actually into Rob.
And Kaylin's like, oh.
And Kaylin's like, okay.
I would have been down for her being with Anna, let's be real.
Oh, that would have been a really cute couple.
It would have been because they're already, like, close.
And still Lewis is fucked.
He's kind of ace, though. Like, he's not really into anybody. Oh, no, he's into the daughter.
He's into the daughter.
Oh, I forgot about that.
They pretty much get together.
Yeah, they do.
How many shot glasses?
Like 4. It was fun, but it wasn't, like, great.
I was actually going to give it 4 as well. Yeah. Great minds think alike sometimes.
Which is actually a sarcastic idiom.
Great minds think alike?
Yeah, because in truth, like, great minds don't actually think alike.
No,
they're
they don't.
individual.
Opposites attract. To be honest, I think this is more branded for like middle school. Just the way it's written. It's a fun read, but it's more for like young teens.
Yeah, and L.J. Smith's earlier work is a lot like that. Like I would say the original Vampire Diaries is a lot like that. This book is a lot like that. Secret Circle is a lot like that. But then her newer stuff like Night World and the newer Vampire Diaries and her other stuff is way more geared towards like older high schoolers who were like more mature because it covers more mature themes. They're scarier, they're whatever.
I'd recommend it, but I would recommend it for younger viewers because if you're like our age and read this book,
you're gonna be kind of like, alright.
Kind of be like, okay.
That's kind of like the overall what this book left me with was, okay. Would you recommend that you get it and read it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would too.
Again, more towards young teens, but if you're curious, I'd go out and buy it.
Yeah, if you like paranormal romance, young teen paranormal romance and all that fun stuff, I would actually even buy it. I wouldn't. This is one of the rare ones where I wouldn't say rent it from the library. I would say buy this book. It's a good read. So yeah.
Yeah, that's the Dark Visions by L.J. Smith. That's it for this one. This is Meadow.
Meadow! You're famous now. You're gonna die soon, so this is the last thing we have.
What?
Oh,
why are you gonna say she's dying?
She's old.
Yeah, but cats
She's
can
an
live
old
longer
lady.
than dogs.
Oh, she's so cute. Hello, Meadow. She's like, what do you want?
Okay, bye.